So thank you, Brian, for doing this little experiment with us.
Of course.
Yeah. Are you nervous? You look nervous.
Always. Honestly, I do think it's weird to be back on camera. My first thoughts are like, where do I look? Where da?
Yeah, yeah.
Well, just so
yeah,
you
it's
know,
all
that camera
That's
is looking at
your
you.
camera.
That's your camera.
what?
Yep.
Um, so this is going to be very loosey-goosey. I mean, we will kind of keep our eye on the chat and see what type of questions come in. But we're tying this to our new channel, of course, the Brooke and Matt Show. And you've been part of our endeavors for a while. First of all, we've known you forever. I think, if I'm not mistaken, um, Valentine's Day 2008, you were part of the prank to get me back after I pranked Brooke on Valentine's Day.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you and Melissa got me so good at an audition. And that I was pretty hot under the collar.
Just read the words, Matt.
For all the viewers, I'd walked into this in-person audition with Brian and Melissa, who was the other casting director. And normally we didn't do boards, right? We didn't do scripts on pieces of paper. And there was 4 pieces of paper, and you guys had intentionally rearranged them so that it made no sense no matter which way I read them. And they were like, just read it, Matt. And I'm like, great. And so I'm just reading it cold because I'm used to teleprompter. And then I get to the second page. I'm like, but wait, doesn't. And then after you're like, is everything okay? I'm like, yeah. And I'm like I'm like, oh, I got it. Like as if I suddenly made sense of it.
Right.
And so then I'm going back like, okay. And then I get to the third page. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. And you and Melissa are just like, just read it. Come on. Like, you're usually good. Then there was something with props where there was like a hammer.
Yeah. And it was like, hold it together.
Like, oh, just total punking of me, which was great. So that we go back that far.
Yeah.
For sure.
That was a very special day in our relationship.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
We're part of that.
I think I want to start every audition now by looking at actors and going, so you nervous? I think they would enjoy that.
Touche. Yeah.
I think we would really, really own it too. They'd be like,
Yeah.
oh yes, I am. What?
I could just say, so you're nervous.
Yeah, don't even answer the question.
Right. Just make it a statement.
Just and then stare at them awkwardly.
Yeah.
But you know, I think the next thing I want to bring up, which will kind of tie us into talking like industry type questions.
I said that there's feedback happening.
Oh no.
Good feedback?
I don't know. Yeah. Is it good feedback? Is it bad feedback?
Oh, I love his shirt.
Do me a favor, Parker. Take either that laptop and try to get on the live stream and like maybe out of this room so you can hear what's going on.
Have fun, Parker.
Yeah, well, hold on. This is actually
the YouTube.
Let me just see if just either that laptop and actually I got it right here.
I think we're good.
We apologize. Just an echo, Louis says. Yeah, too many microphones, so maybe I'll try to keep mine a little
too many cooks.
But so when we did Becky and Barry the first season, which would have been 2010, we wanted to sort of lampoon the actor's life, and specifically with the 2 characters that were just so innocent and yet a headache to casting directors. And the thing that I think was so hilarious, but was sort of like it backfired, was so you did a few episodes with us, right, where our characters just annoy the crap out of your character as the casting director. But then I would start to come into real auditions for you, and then you would be like, okay, so Matt, as if I was about to be Barry, as if I was about to make your life hell.
Oh my gosh.
And I would look at you for a second like, oh no, do you think that I'm Barry? Do you think I'm actually gonna do this? I
remember saying to you things like it's in your wheelhouse. Like I kept going back to. So sorry. You made an impression?
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah.
So then I threw you off your game going forward. So what's your question?
Are you nervous?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting during that time, because this was back when everything was in person. And one of the things that I loved about in person is seeing all of the people that you haven't seen in a long time. But yes, it's an audition. But Matt and I would walk into a room, or vice versa, just one of us, and we would hear these whispers of like, there's Becky, there's Mary. And it was as though people really did think that we were those people.
I mean, you leaned into those characters pretty good. So if you didn't know you, then I would assume without ever meeting you that that was you.
Oh, okay.
So your truthiness played through very
Oh,
well.
Well, that's good because we got more coming.
I'd give you an A plus.
A plush.
Yeah. Which is a soft A.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a
Yeah.
soft day. Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. Just
Oh
very
gosh.
soft day.
But it was, I mean, I think it was cathartic for both of us, right? To kind of do that. We would have actors also who would be like, "Are you spying on my auditions?" In terms of like the types of things, the types of anxieties, the types of maybe foibles that would happen in the room. And it was because we approached that web series thinking, okay, it's too hard for anybody to agree on what you should do, right? There's a lot of like those nuanced opinions on how do you stand out, how do you, how do you slate, how do you do this? But it's so much easier to cover the things you should never do, right? The things you shouldn't do. And that became the window into that series was instead of trying to like do tutorials on what to do, it was no, let's just try to systematically show all the behavior that you should avoid, but through these sort of naive and innocent characters. But it was cathartic because we hadn't been doing the taping series for too long, but we had been taping actors at our respective agencies for years, going back to 2005. So not only our own behavior in auditions, but we had seen so many actors at that point having, that anxiety in the room when stakes are high. And so it's been cathartic for sure to do that.
Question for you, when you were those characters, did you have nerves at all, or were you having so much fun in being in that place? Was it just joy making that content?
Yeah.
So when you say, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, I think the very first episode was very nerve-wracking for me because it was this need to do something right and do something, we had invested some time and energy, and I saw the progression of me getting more comfortable.
Yeah.
So it took an episode or two.
But it's funny because it's almost an honor when you say you came back in there, and I would always quote or do things from the show because you made such an impression on me as the character that I appreciated your work and knew you as having that ability forever.
Yeah.
So, obviously I felt comfortable enough to mess with you.
Sure.
And hopefully you didn't take it in a bad way because I know you can do dramatic, you can do all kinds of things, but I really think it's an honor when an actor gets lost in the material because you can sense the joy in it. And I think that's one of the biggest things I teach actors now is to stop trying to do things and to get lost in the joy. But you have to be really good and learn from all those other things you've seen and been a part of to let go and do that, right?
Yeah.
That's why you were able to embody those characters so well.
Yeah.
Yeah. And recently we were having a discussion with some folks, some actors about that spectrum between commerce and art. And actors, we get because the line gets blurred so easily, like especially for commercials, right? There is this immediate, it's gonna cast right away. It's gonna shoot in a week. And so there's this very near proximity to the money, the credit, the size of the client. And then that gets in the way of the fun and the joy because now it's like, okay, I know you're trying to loosen me up in this room, but what's going to get me the job? Like what's going to book me the job? And I think so often we get distracted by that, right? The idea of what will book me the job as opposed to, I mean, that director, yes, we're all in some way having to honor the commerce side of it, especially for commercials. But I think every commercial director would fancy themselves an artist, would rather spend some time finding the art in this. And
They do.
I mean, we did a commercial back in 2007 before we were dating for Longhorn. And I just remember the director coming up to us, in between takes when the client was way far away and just saying things to make us know that we're going to try the best we can to do the thing that, we're team artist and we're going to try to get the good takes. We're going to do the takes the client wants, but we're also going to try to sneak in some takes that we want. And it was just really comforting to know that his ultimate goal was, to kind of honor what us, the artists, wanted to do, even though he's beholden to what the client wants.
What I really want to know based on that was the big-haired lady in that spot for Longhorn?
That was me. I'm kidding. No, seriously, no, she wasn't. But they did put me in some big hair.
I did love, if you remember, the big-haired lady in the Longhorn spot.
Yeah,
she was
yeah,
awesome.
Yes.
You guys were okay.
Yeah, we
They're
were
just mediocre. Yeah.
not just
So if I can kind of share on what you just said or add to it. Actors focus on the work and doing the work. And now that includes like getting their shot right and knowing their things and doing it and listening and hoping and doing all these things that are work-based, which takes away from the playground. This is an imagination-based thing. And even for commercials, the biggest thing I think I see for commercials is now people are on their own. When they were in the room with me, I used to block it out, tell them where to look, and I still do, but I used to give them the playground and then they could imagine that space, or I would further help their imagination to go, oh, this is here. You're actually seeing the dog do this, all these things. But now actors, when they're at home, they're so focused on the work and what they need to do and who they need to listen to. And if they're getting it right, that the imagination goes away. And the best actors, the work actually goes away because we're not shooting it. None of this stuff, your lav mic and your all these things that you work to get just right, usually are a hindrance because you've tried so hard that your imagination of, even though it's a one-liner, knowing all the things around you that make it special and imaginative are the most important thing. And that's what I see so much. And so what I heard from that is actors have to get over that hump of like, I'm trying to do work, I'm trying to do right. And I can see that, and directors can see that in 1 second if you're needing to get it right, or if you're listening and this is your playground and it's not a test.
Yeah.
When I thought about this before today,
Oh,
I was like,
wow.
this isn't a test.
Huh.
But it feels like that. Like when you start playing golf, and I love golf, you try to get it right and you're swinging too hard and you're really focused and you're doing all these things. And over time, you realize that all of that effort, if you just relax and let go, you'll hit the golf ball. But the harder you try, the more you get away from what actually makes it go. And like the same thing, I know I'm really going tangenty
No, I love
here,
it.
but I did that for years and was not a great golfer. And now in this last tournament I played last year, I won most valuable golfer in the tournament, right? It was for golf and partying. I won
Okay.
the trophy. But you got to think about what's important.
Sure.
But I didn't try. I just let go and really enjoyed it. And 6 years I went from being the struggling to, and it can take that long, but the work has to disappear to being a playground.
I
Which is the
love
hardest thing to do.
I love what you're saying because I remember coming into in-persons and you setting the parameters of the playground. And Matt talks about this all the time, and I cannot remember what book it was from, where they did a study where they had kids on a playground and they didn't have any boundaries, and the kids all stayed close to like the equipment. And then there was another set of kids that played on a playground with boundaries, like with a fence, and the kids explored every single part of that boundary. And the ones who had the boundaries said that claimed to have more fun. And it's interesting because sometimes that's what maybe the artist or the actor feels when they get just a slip of paper with instructions on it. They don't sense the imagination boundary. They just sense the rules boundary.
Yeah.
And so they're safe within those boundaries and they will explore those. But when it comes to the imagination boundary, they don't see it because it's not in train. It's
And it
not
can't just
ingrained.
happen. The training has to make you do it right. And that a moment before is 1 second and a moment after is 1 second. Where some people keep going for 10 seconds where the script starts. But that moment before and after I always call the action that we're shooting or your one-liner, I like to call it the middle scene. Meaning like whatever's happening, I want to feel we came into this and then it's going to continue right after, but we didn't stop it. Here's your pizza.
Yeah. Hey,
And he just
No,
glitched.
if that's your one-liner, you need to know that moment after is if they give you a tip or not, or even close the door before you get a chance to say thank you or whatever it is, or you almost get bit by the dog. There's tiny things that are tiny that you add, but it has to be done correctly. And the training an actor allows you to let that work go and understand that this is all imagination.
Yes.
For sure.
Yeah, one of the things I do that I say with that same playground analogy is when you're so hung up on the work, the way you're saying it, it's like that kid who is constantly looking back at like, mom, is this okay? Mom, like, and like a kid that's on the playground and asking, is this how I use the monkey bars? Is this how, right? That kid's not having fun. There's no
He's trying
joy.
to do it right.
And mom kind of wants a reprieve, right? Mom doesn't want to have to tell you how to play. Whereas the kid
Is
who
she a
just
stage mom or a regular mom?
Right.
Sorry, keep going.
Yeah.
in this analogy, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
She's not the momager stage mom.
Okay.
But the kid who, when you arrive at the playground and they just take off and they're going up this slide instead of down the slide because why not?
Yeah.
And the mom is is able to just let them play. I mean, that's, I think, essentially where actors need the transition, and they don't always make that transition, right? They're
Yeah.
so hung up on, but is this okay?
Yeah.
Is this allowed? Is this within those rules?
And it happens very quickly. That moment, especially in callbacks with directors, one of the things I put in my notes, y'all have seen on Zoom callbacks, is you may appear sideways. So quickly flip your phone straight up and then sideways, and it'll right itself. If not, turn off screen lock. And don't worry, my last thing is I've got your back. I'll help you. And the reason I put that is because a certain percentage of actors, the second that they come in the room, they see that they're sideways, and their next thought is, I had this right. And there's a moment of gritted frustration. And that is when we are meeting you, which is very important. It's more important than when we go action, because the director, I can tell I can tell in 1 second that you're frustrated or whatever. What I miss about in-person casting is I used to disarm you before you got in the room. I used to go, oh, your fly's down. You go, it is? No. Okay. So you realize that I'm playing and this is a game, and it's a game show.
Yeah.
But in Zoom and on self-tapes, I don't have that chance to disarm it a lot of times before they see you. So if that's happening and I can sense an actor going and, or the ear pods, same thing. They have the ear pods in, all of a sudden, then they got to take their earbud and they'll say to me, I had this all set up. I'm like, you also still do.
Yeah.
And nothing is be perfect, and stop being so hard and stop working to get it right so much, because no shots have to be, I know I say no headroom and all that stuff, but nothing has to be perfect, and actors are way too hard on themselves.
Yeah. We have an actor friend that they'll know who they are if they're watching this, but we will not say names. But they just recently were intimating to us an experience they had in a casting, a live casting. So it was one of those rare things, which now that is partly, I don't want to say it's a problem, but it's a new experience to be in the room, whether it's in a commercial callback or in this case, I think it was theatrical or TV film. And they had a lot of copy, and they said that everything went great until like the last line. And they were holding on to that, and which every actor sympathizes with that, right? Like, oh yeah, you get to that last moment, and then you feel like that's the only thing that matters, right?
Or that's the only thing that they'll remember.
You're only gonna remember the fact that I flubbed that last line, and you can only tell the person so many times. Really, the only way that as an actor I will convince myself that it was okay is if I book it. If I don't book it, then that becomes the reason I didn't book it, was that one little tiny flub. But as you're saying, it's like, no, that's never going to be the reason.
Yeah, there's so many factors that are like height, demographic, gender, like all these things that happen that are so out of your control. And the actors get really, really hard on themselves. And I really try to make it fun from the get-go. I consider, people are like, you Zoom for 9 hours today? And I'm like, yeah, but you're on my game show. So like at the end of my 9-hour Zoom, the client usually goes, wow, that was fun. And Brian, you're good at this or whatever. I get compliments and I work for them very, very hard, because it's such a dance. But at the same time, I'm this middleman bringing you guys in as contestants on this show, presenting. And to me, that's how I justified it when the pandemic started, because Zoom was very hard in the beginning. We lost control of actors, and casting directors have control of actors, or we did in a room. And so it was really, really hard. But that's how I tell myself and keep going. People are like, I hate a Zoom. And I'm like, welcome to your Zoom. And I'll try to mess with people immediately, even the director or whatever. I'm like, so you're not showing your face today? Oh, that's creepy. And then they're like, do it. I'm like, no, man, it's fine. You do your thing, But I'll call them out, because it's a collaboration, and everybody needs to relax a little bit.
Yeah.
This is tight, trying to make money. Are we? I don't know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, the thing is, life or death, right? Is it really life or death? It should be fun. It should. And going back to what you were able to kind of glean from us when we did the show way back when, we were doing it so that we could have fun in a industry where we were at the mercy of whether we got called in for an audition to begin with. So we decided to just kind of make our own playground, and it was super fun, and hopefully it'll be super fun.
Yeah, we realized as we sort of wanted to get back into writing stuff for ourselves, we're like, how long should we reboot Becky and Barry? And it was like, how long has it been? And we realized it had been 10 years since the last episode, and
crazy.
Could not believe. And so then it just kind of felt right just because of the math of like, well, since it's been 10 years, we've got to do it. But it really started in COVID when in lockdown, everyone was going stir crazy. So we're like, let's just see what we can do with Brooke, myself, and a camera. And of course, we have this sort of simple lighting equipment. So we went to the studio, grabbed stuff, took it home, and just tried to shoot what we could. And that was fun. And then of course the world starts opening back up, and you kind of forget about that. And flash forward 5 years, and now we're kind of embarking on this again. And it's partly for the same reason. In 2010 we got married, and the industry hadn't fully picked up yet. It was kind of like, what do we do? Like, how do we still be fulfilled even when we're not booking lots of jobs? And now it's kind of the same thing, right? The industry is in this contraction, and everyone's freaking out, and there's a lot of chicken littles out there, worried that the sky is falling. And there are things to be concerned about, but it's like, if you can't fix it yourself, and if there's not a pickup line to join, and if there's not something to vote for right now, then it's kind of like sitting around and reading more deadline articles is just going to send you on that tailspin. And so for us, it's like, well, let's just stop doing that, and let's start putting our creative juices somewhere that it is fun. And whether 5 people watch this stream, and whether 5 people watch the show, it's kind of like, doesn't matter, because the fulfillment already happens in the process of making it. So.
What is your what do you do for kind of fun on the outside of casting? Because I know you have a lot of fun casting. That's a given.
I do, and now I really am excited because I have a team helping me.
Oh, yeah.
I actually am getting away a little bit to get outside a little bit more and play golf, because the last 8 or 9 months have been pretty crazy, and I'm really thankful for it. But I have a 3-year-old. We have tons of fun. He's learning to play golf too. So
what does that look like?
He swings really hard.
Okay, great.
He'd probably be better for hockey.
Nice.
Happy Gilmore.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Hockey Gilmore. But I love casting. And I'm teaching a class coming up.
Yeah.
So that is really exciting, and it's from the casting point of view.
Yeah, please expound upon that, because when I saw you tease it and then sort of reveal it, and spoiler alert, I think you've already filled all your spots. But like hearing that, because we get spoiled on a taping service, and Parker, one of our employees, is here watching. So Parker, if you have any questions, get them queued up. We learn so much on that side of the camera, not as much as, of course, you, because you're seeing that ultimate sort of, especially in the callback, the actor at their peak, sort of either creativity or anxiety, everywhere in between. So we don't see all of it, but just kind of explain what the reason was behind this class, and sort of how you're going to have fun with the actors in it.
So I think actors rarely hear what directors have to say unless it's to them. When something is to you, you're like a horse with blinders. You're not taking in how the whole thing plays out. It's just about you and what you're about to do. But in this class, those talent will get to sit back and watch the callback. So there's a round 1, 50 actors will audition. Then I'll put out callbacks. We'll run everybody through the callbacks. All the actors will get to come to the callback. So even if they didn't get a callback, they'll sit behind me and watch the callback. So I'll direct the callbacks. We'll play through it, and they'll be able to see the process and watch 15 people or so do the same thing and watch how it's different. I've listened to directors for so long that I hope to channel it really well. And I think I will, to let actors feel what I feel on a daily basis. So it's really, when I got behind the camera, and y'all know, you learn so much more about acting and what is true on camera. So everybody will get to see direction. We have agents attending the callback as well.
Oh, wow.
So we have VIP, like agents coming they're going to sit and attend it as well. So everybody will get seen by agents as well. So I'm really excited about it, really, to teach again. The one thing I do miss is connecting with you guys. When you were like, you can do this on Zoom or in person, I was like, I'll be there, because I really miss people a lot. So I'm excited to teach again, and really help people understand that callback process and see how it plays out when the pressure isn't on them.
Yeah.
Just the perspective, because selfishly, it's so funny when if an actor has a Zoom call back with you, for instance, sometimes they'll hit us up like, "Hey, can I do it at Get Tape?" And we're like, "Yeah, come in." And selfishly, like I love running the tech side of that for them because I have zero pressure on me, right? I mean, other than I hope I turn the microphone on, like I hope I checked all the settings.
Right.
Once they've been pulled into the Zoom and I can tell that the technology is working, then I'm just like locked eyes on what the director's saying, what you're doing, and then how the actor is sort of navigating that because yeah, they have amnesia. The moment they get off the call, the actor is like, how'd that go? I don't know.
Yeah.
It felt good, I think. I don't know. And then I'm either there to reassure them that they did exactly what they needed to do,
Yeah.
or to maybe interpret something like, no, I was watching the director's face, like they were in love with that, or
I think that's really valuable. When you're on your own, like you said, that thing goes blank and then you're like back out of your dream and you have no feedback.
Yeah.
But if they come here or to a taping service,
yeah,
then they can not, first of all, not have to worry about the work, the
Yeah.
equipment.
Yeah.
It's just like the old days.
Mhm.
And then of course they can get that feedback after from someone who's heard it enough where your opinion is very valuable.
yeah.
I'm doing more in person as well,
Right.
which I'm really excited about because directors want to be back in the room as well. But it's
Oh,
always a mix because now they're like, we want everybody in person. And I'm like, well, we'll do it Zoom person because if somebody's on set or can't make it, we Zoom. And honestly, there's some trepidation from directors and producers. We need everybody back in the room. I'm like, I want to say, no, you don't. You don't.
Mhm.
But I will do my best. And then at the end, it's funny because I have a huge screen right here and I can get an actor in person to play off an actor in Zoom and just listen, not worry about the eye line per se. And it works just as well. So it's gotten so good now that they won't, by the end of the audition, everybody who's Zooming has the same opportunity who's in person, which is part of my job,
Yeah.
is to give every actor that chance,
Yeah.
that same chance.
That's great.
Yeah, that is, and it's good to hear that the directors are, wanting that experience too,
Mhm.
because I think a lot of actors, when we don't have any feedback, we love creating narratives of like what is actually happening on your end, on the client's end. So it's just good to hear it straight from your mouth of sort of that desire to be in person, because until an actor does learn, right, what like the reasons why. I mean, it's because what percentage more requests can you put out in a world of tapes as opposed to what it used to be? In other words, how many people could you see live in a day versus now how many people can you ask for a tape?
Yeah, honestly, I can ask for a lot more. And it really, people are like, great, my competition level goes up. Well, but the best actors rise to the top. And now I'll cast Florida as well because Atlanta is like LA in that we have an orbit and everybody wants to work here. So if a job is, even if it's local hire, if it's $69 to fly here on Spirit, then people want to be considered even if they're in Miami. So I love that because in the old days, I could pick 78 people. And if there was a hole, I had to fill it as fast as I could, or the agent would say, can I plug this hole? Because that was all I could do. But now I can pick 250 tapes and honestly really narrow that down to what I need to. And I'm sending the client about the same amount of tapes because in a lot of those places, the actors, they'll weed themselves out. They won't make the cut. And a lot of times it is because the work is bigger than the imagination. They are trying to get it right. And so you can even feel that in the self-tapes. I put enough direction in the self-tapes so I can tell if an actor can interpret what I'm putting out there.
Yeah.
And that's another reason I write all of that long direction. People go, you write so much. And I'm like, yeah, but if you read it at the end, you'll in your mind have no questions. And that's what I used to do in person. I used to come out to the room and go, okay, here's what we're going to do today. You're going to walk in here, the basketball goal's there, Shaq's there, he's going to reject your shot, all this stuff. And I would go, any questions? And everybody would have no questions. And it's because it was clear. So that's what I craved. Like after I would run an actor through and see what I needed to block and and guinea pig it, then the game was no question. And now it's funny when I write the direction for you guys, I actually will sit there and play out the roles. So I'll sit there and be like, no, I didn't. That's why you're here. Ooh, that feels right. Look there. Okay. And then cross it. Then that'll come here. Ugh. And then I love the first self tape because the first tape tells me what I wrote.
Oh,
Or if the person ignored me completely and I'm like, they ignore me completely. Or they got it right. And that meant I got it right for the directors. Because it's
Yeah.
never for me. I know I'm the middleman. It's exciting for me. I
yeah.
really like I'm like a facilitator,
Yeah, you
and
get to
it's
see
super
it come to
fun.
life.
you know?
What's interesting about just being able to create that world is, and this is maybe just a testament to where we are just with our phones, right? 38 characters, I think, is what people read in on tweets. Is it? I can't remember
That's
what
more
it
than
is.
that.
It's more than that now.
I can be 39 characters.
Nice. But I'm just curious if that also is really challenging to us now, where you're creating a story. Like nobody reads novels a lot anymore. They'll read, they'll listen to audiobooks, which
Yeah.
is great. No shade. I can't believe I just said no shade. But I also think that we need to get back to the basics of what our career is based on, which is words, right? We bring words to life, whether it's the stage direction, we're bringing it to life in our own body from head to toe. We're speaking words that actually have meaning, but the directions that you give actually have purpose. It's not just for us to scan through and go, oh, yeah, I got it.
So a lot of actors, when you say that, a lot of actors, I think, and I did this too, I would go, what are my lines? What are my lines? That is not what is your process? I have a feeling you don't do that when you get a script. You're not going, okay, Tuesday I'll be there. Tuesday I'll be there. But like maybe I did that. All right. Maybe I didn't.
We all have
do that.
done it at one
But
time.
what is your process when a script comes to you like this? The reason I ask is because I'm a casting director, so I'm not tied to a role. So when I read it for the story. I don't read it for your part, which is very different than what actors do, I think.
Yeah.
I read it for the story.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I think, and I'll just play the other side of that, which is I think there's a lot of actors who would sympathize with what I'm about to say, which is there is that piece of ego that immediately clocks. How many lines do I have? Or like in the script, like sometimes actors will then get angry. They're going to get angry either way, right? They're going to either get angry that I don't have any lines, like in a commercial, or they'll get angry that they have too many lines. Like there is no, like, if we stopped everyone and said, okay, write your perfect commercial. Would it be 3 words? Would it be 2 lines? So there is that ego thing that like immediately you want to reach out. Oh yeah, take that. You can just take her off the Zoom. I don't know if it matters. It's not showing up. Oh, okay, cool.
Someone needs to tick the.
Oh,
Anyway, keep going.
Oh,
Now I'm reading. Uh-oh.
you know what it is? I think it's because we're joining the Zoom from 2 different computers in the same space. That was our hack around having 2 cameras. And so I think sometimes if one of the um, connections is slightly off from the other, then we're probably getting like your microphone is picking at this.
Oh, the
I'm in
sound
Mercury. I'm in
engineer over
Mercury
here.
retrograde.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
One
don't know what that is, but
Yeah.
that's what
Oh,
happened.
you're right.
one thing we could do, 6 minutes. You know what we can do?
Do you have live performance audio on the Zoom? Turn live performance audio off. If
I don't know if that's
on.
it, but
I'll let y'all deal with that.
Look at the top right on the Zoom. Then that could be it.
Yeah.
we're gonna try something.
But can we still talk, or is that too much?
Not yet.
Okay.
You're gonna use this microphone now, Brian.
Okay.
And then we'll use this one.
2 mics, 1 Brian.
That.
Oh. Oh.
All right. So now the audio,
Test.
it'll all come from one feed, but it should at least now not have. And someone, Bex or Mike Stanley, whoever's still listening and hasn't given up on us.
Thanks for not giving up.
Yeah, tell us if that sounds a little bit better.
It has 0 likes on YouTube.
Oh, man.
Who's gonna be first?
Good question.
I just thought I'd point that out.
Oh,
Thank
yeah.
you. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Sounds better.
Oh.
Great. So we're only 40 minutes into this, and we finally got the sound to be
Okay.
doable. So we'll start from the beginning.
I'm Brian. I'm an alcoholic.
But
Oh, it's not.
the process.
That's a long time.
So I do think that there is an immediate clocking of the script of like, what is my part like, and how much do I have? For commercials, I think it's a little easier to then jump into story. Sometimes with TV and film, then actors jump right into already starting to memorize or fixate without spending enough time thinking about story. Because what we'll see when it comes to TV and film is actors come in to tape, and let's say it's a project that we've been seeing lots of people for, or it's it's season 3 of a show, and they just haven't done simple script analysis. It's either clear they haven't watched the show, or like just even reading the script once, I can pick up on certain nuances because, again, like you, I'm not fixated on their character. I'm actually looking at the whole story. And then I'm just like, oh, you're not getting that, are you? And so I think actors can get very hyper focused sometimes in their process of only thinking about themselves, not like selfishly, but only their character. And I think they would stand to do better if we all thought a little bit more about the needs of the project, the needs of the story.
It honestly, and this is a silly direction, but it's I've given it a lot, even in my breakdowns, even in my direction. But if an actor gets a script and actually just gives somebody else a script before they even read it, and then they close their eyes and the other person reads the story, and don't even worry about who your character is. You will imagine the entire story, and it only takes one time. You will imagine Frank and everybody that's talked about in the story and why the pizza was late or whatever it is. And it only takes one time, and then you open your eyes and you know the story, and you will see why things happened, and then the lines are there because of what happened. But it's so backwards because yes, we go through lines and we memorize, but if we do it I would almost like people to play the other roles before they play their roles. That would be another way to do it as well, because you then start to relate to why the other person is speaking, right? So you start to sympathize with both sides.
Sure.
Of the story would be great. But for me, it's the biggest thing is the actor seeing the story first and then going into their character. But again, I think I have an advantage because I'm writing their commercial. This is the first time they've never seen it come to life. So it's my chance to go, here's your commercial coming to life. This is the story, even the stuff that's not scripted, the moment before I've created, so we can get to your moment and the out to get out. But like I try to do that so a director can go, oh, that's what I was thinking. That's the story. Cool. And it's a challenge, but once we believe it, I believe it. I mean, actors can do it too.
Yeah.
It just has to be done a little differently.
Yeah. I used to really despise commercials back in the day because I felt like, ugh, you're selling something. Like, why? I don't want to sell
There's
something.
no art.
Yeah.
Yeah, until you got to play you and a robot
Yeah.
serving
No,
a
that's
hot
true.
dog, which is your favorite commercial ever. I'm like, Brooke, actually, when they were like, we should probably cancel everybody else because she's going to book this. So you were
Thank
saying?
you. I appreciate that.
You're very good in
Well, thank you. I really appreciate that. That was a fun one.
hot dogs.
Hot
What?
dogs coming out of my
All I
corner.
know is commercials.
Yes, and that's what's so interesting is because once I realized, and this was well before I booked that robot spot, well before I realized that commercials in and of themselves are stories, and I had to get my mind around that because just taking my prep from doing TV, film, play, break, or work, breaking it down, I realized that commercials are just like a itty bitty story.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a prop in there. It's a product.
Yeah.
Honestly, you're the prop.
Right.
You are in commercials. You were like, I am here to bring this thing. That's the thing. I'm the thing holding the thing, talking about the thing relating to you, who's also a thing.
Did anyone ever I remember in the 90s, that's kind of showing how old I am, but they would teach classes on how to bring up the prop close to your face.
Oh.
Do you remember? I mean, that was a thing.
Oh man, you have no idea. I cast a ton of Coke commercials.
Oh yeah.
And watch this. Coke commercials, first of all, when you drink a Coke and you just drink a Coke, how often do you just pour it on yourself? Almost never.
Never.
If you go on camera and you drink a Coke, the very first thing you'll do is go, how do I drink a Coke?
Yep.
And you will pour it down your shirt. And I've watched 48% of actors spill a Coke on themselves because they're on camera. And then they look at me and their first thought is, I know how to drink a Coke. And I'm like, I know. But it's weird because the camera makes you you never think about drinking a Coke. But Coke has a way, and I wouldn't say this to people. I would only say it on the second take because if I direct you pre-take of how to drink a Coke, you're gonna be like, I thought I knew how to drink a Coke.
Yeah.
But it never will work anyway because they need to see the bottle go up And so it had to be this thing. Doublemint gum, they used to fold the gum
Yeah, they
a certain
did.
way. So that in the callbacks, they would fold the gum. But
That's
so
funny.
yeah, that's their product. You know, when we used to cast Apple, they would get a Samsung monitor, so they would come in and cover up the Samsung with a piece of tape.
Yeah. Ah,
All right.
Yeah.
Sure. Hey, whatever
Their
does it.
product, yeah.
Right. But they needed to imagine that that wasn't a Samsung. So
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, commercials are all make believe. I know I'm
Mhm.
rambling now, but it's fun.
No, I love it.
so
Love it.
I think we talked about this before we jumped on the live, but when we have cast you as an actor in our stuff and the anxiety that you felt, I do want to make you feel a little bit better. When we took one of our episodes down to New Orleans and we cast Ryan Glorioso,
Uh-huh.
we had reached out like, hey, are you willing to play with us? And he was like, sure. And he sort of said the same thing that you were saying beforehand, which was when we got to set with him, he's like, when I agreed to this, I thought you guys were gonna give me like 2 lines.
Yeah.
And we gave him like this whole real fun scene
Yeah.
with Becky, with Brooke's character Becky, and
It was
it
great.
gave him a lot of anxiety because he's a former actor as well, or has that experience as an actor. And so you know, we wanting to like spread the love and give lines to you all, but and then to find out the anxiety that it induced in you. I mean, just talk about that now that we're on the live, like how that is such a different beast for you.
Yeah, it was really scary. And the reason was because I was very busy and I worked till like 2 in the morning every night. And I was like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. And then that morning, the night before I read the script, and I was like, okay, I got this. And then I got to set and I looked at the lines and first thing I said to you guys was, hey, I don't know my lines. Like, am I going to be okay? And you guys were like, yeah, sure.
Totally.
You are great. We
Yeah.
love you.
We
You are
just
fine.
need you to be you.
Meanwhile, they're like, he doesn't.
Never.
But no, but it was weird because that honoring the craft hit me in the face right then that I, even in my old times, would memorize lines and wasn't alive enough to play in what y'all had written. Because when I originally wrote it, I didn't read my lines. I just read the story and I was like, oh, Becky and Barry's back. This is fun. And then I did read it for my lines. But then, yes, when all of a sudden the camera's on you, then you start thinking. And so it is scary. And it really does make me appreciate the fact that actors have to make themselves believe. And I think the hardest thing in that is breaking your own heart on camera. When I had a commercial the other day and it was about a car, it was an insurance firm, but it's a car accident and the two drivers are outside talking to each other while the accident is frozen right before it happens. And he's like, is there anything you can do? And he goes, I'm sorry. And he goes, we were headed to soccer practice. My kid's on the all-star team. And it goes down from there.
Yeah.
And you realize that by the end, and this is a very heavy commercial, that somebody doesn't make it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And all of the actors broke in the scene. Is weird because it broke me too, because I watched them and the director even asked, hey, do you mind sharing what you channeled there? And you don't have to. The director was very gracious, but the actors say, I just had loss, or I have a 16-year-old and I just put her in that place and she's not coming home to me. And these things are so powerful, but I'm like, as an actor, so you have to be willing to break yourself and totally believe yourself and let go to seeing your 16-year-old not come home. And is that a commercial now? Like, yeah, it was just a commercial, but that's no different than that's the film where they show up and say your daughter's not coming home, and in 1 second later you have to lose it,
Yeah.
So the dedication is there and has to be in commercials. Even comedy is the hardest thing. That's where you can't make funny. You have to understand funny and why a writer writes something and not for you to go. And that's why it was, but people like to punch comedy. And I'm like, comedy is best served without you doing anything.
Yeah.
So that's another hard random thing I just said to try.
No,
No,
I like, and about that sort of breaking your, actor has to be willing to break their own heart. It is something that I think any psychologist, if they sat down with an actor, would eventually unpack the fact that every audition, whether it's a commercial or we might trivialize it, right? We might think, oh, it's just a car commercial, it's just an insurance commercial, but that becomes a vulnerable thing, even if it is comedy. And to be vulnerable and to offer a piece of yourself that you can't get back, right? You've invested it in you. I've exposed myself for you, for either a self tape or in person. And then when I don't get it, right, then it just like in a relationship, if we're hurt, if we're betrayed, it causes anger, it causes resentment, it causes lashing out in other ways. And in other words, it's no surprise that a lot of actors carry around something, whether it's grief, anger, resentment, especially during a time like this in the industry where there's just a lot of, droughts with each individual actor. And yeah, it's tough, and it's a continual battle to try to maintain balance, mentally, because there's just so much that wants to, distract you and make you feel like you're less than.
Actors have to change the fact that they think that this is all about the now and the moment. This is a journey. If you agree to do this, we'll call it the Harrison Ford effect. He went to LA and he wasn't like, I'm going to book. And there were all these young guys out there trying to make it and do this. He was like, I'm going to become part of this industry until you see how long it takes. And 6 years later, whatever it is, he was so immersed that, but the point is that this isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. And if you're willing to be part of this, y'all know you will go through droughts and hard times. And I meant to touch on this earlier. The most important thing is to be able to create your own content and keep feeding that creativity, even when you're waiting, because waiting for an actor is really hard to do, even after auditions. And also, when an actor doesn't book something, they start to wear, why not? Why not me? I did this, da 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 da. What they should know is every audition they make is another little thing in their arsenal that gets them this bigger, stronger actor, to where they've heard all the things, where they're not going to be thrown. The next time that thing comes, they're going to go, check. All right, you know what this director means. Yep. And they're listening and they're calm. Like, I get excited. I get goosebumps for actors when they're just listening. And you can tell when an actor or director talks and an actor's trying to get it. Okay, got it. So, and then they'll ask a reiteration question, which you should never ask a director unless there's something that threw you off totally. But most of the time, directors are clear with direction. So if it's a tiny little thing, make a choice. Right? If you're okay, make a choice, but don't ask directors to reiterate, or don't say, so what you meant is da, 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 and reiterate to them, because they will always say the same thing. Yes, that's what I meant. And you go ahead. Okay. But so I don't know where I was going with that.
No, I love that little nut.
What I hear you saying.
But so where was I going?
You were going with how when you don't get the job, then you start to.
Yeah, every audition is a learning experience. Every audition should make you better. It shouldn't beat you down. And sure, even if I auditioned for Army Wives 28 times and I never booked it.
I did too.
Right? We had this conversation.
Yeah, we have. I win. That wasn't a competition. I'm sorry.
No, you were, yeah. But the point is that, yeah, it probably frustrated me at the time, but
yeah,
it shouldn't. You should.
No.
I've learned from those auditions. So.
And they're trying to find a place for you in their world, or else they wouldn't keep calling you back.
I appreciate the fact they were reading me for big roles. They weren't the little roles. They were roles where they believe in. It just didn't happen. But I guarantee you, if I was to go back and look at myself as an actor, and I can watch my stuff now, I know that I had moments memorized, rather than knowing who I was, why I can't, what the purpose is, and really listening and knowing that it can be different. Every take can be the same and different without being,
sure.
It can't be the same is a better way to put it. Even if they're like, do the same thing, it's not possible. The world has turned. And so acceptance of being able to do it differently and playing, and not punishing yourself and forcing yourself to get better, or why not? And the actors really, this is a long journey. So have a good job that allows you to act when you can. Do film festivals and all these things. If you're not part of the community, build these people around you. Because when I was in LA, I didn't know anybody. I was an actor in LA from like 2001 to 2004. I worked 5 jobs. I delivered food. I worked at Boater's World, the Rose Bowl flea market, all these random places. And it became that I was just trying to survive. There was no joy in my career at all. At the same time, they kept reading me for a lead in JAG. Remember that show?
Yeah.
And they kept bringing me in, screen testing me, putting me against other people. And the casting director was like, you ready, Brian? I'm like, I'm ready. But I didn't realize, I was sitting there reading against these superstars, and I didn't realize that none of them were me. And when I was a kid and I was in Atlanta, I had a ton of fun acting. I was like, Brian's here, whatever. But when I went out to LA, it became work. It became 5 jobs and me trying to make it. And I wish it was different. But now It's funny because here I am. Somebody looked at me the other day, a couple weeks ago, and they were like, "You were a casting director and you were an actor," and they were like, "So you were one of the ones who made it." And I was like, yeah, but I didn't really even think about it like that because I love what I do, and
Yeah.
now I believe I can help other actors grow off what I've learned, and this is my purpose. And please don't put me in front of the camera again. But yeah, I do
Well,
love it.
Well, we have locked your footage already for our Becky and Barry episode.
Okay, good.
Parker, do you have any questions? Any misconceptions that actors have about casting directors?
Yeah, I think that actors think we don't feel a lot, or like we're quick with auditions. We don't understand what they go through. We ask a lot in a short amount of time. I don't think actors maybe understand that when I ask for you to turn around a tape in 2 days, that means I also have 368 tapes for the 4 roles to watch in 2 days. So I'll stay up till like 2 a.m. and watch those. Um, Watching the tapes is very important to us because even if your tape isn't quite right, I get to know you. So like people are like, "Do you watch all the tapes?" I'm like, "I don't watch all the tapes, but if when I watch your body of work or a take or two after 10 auditions, just like the old days when you came in person, I knew you.
Mm-hmm.
And after 10 auditions, I can know you. I can
Mm-hmm.
know your mannerisms. So I take pride in that. And I think actors don't feel like we know them, but they should know that if it's the sixth time I've asked for you, I already expect you to be in the mix. So like those 5 auditions aren't 5 auditions you didn't book. There are 5 auditions where I'm like, oh, here comes the sixth. This person is automatic. I'm picking them. Because it might take you 27 times. And yes, if I am asking you for tapes, that means I watched your previous tapes and I want you on this casting.
Yeah.
So I root for every single actor. I root if the director, when they used to come in and go, "Oh, I found who I loved," you could pretty much send everybody else home or whatever. Maybe they did that or not. And my whole goal was to beat that first actor throughout the whole day.
Mm,
So the last person, sometimes actor will come in, "I guess I'm the last one, so you're gonna mail it in, huh?" And I'm like, my existence is to have you be right there.
yeah.
Um, so I think actors don't realize we do fight for them. I fight for rates for this market a lot. A lot of times I don't win, but I will always fight for them to the point where I will bother a client. And just so I try to stand up for rates. We do that as well. We love actors, whether we're cold or not. I think casting directors, this is a very good question.
Yeah.
Casting directors, we're under a lot of pressure. So I think we lose humanity sometimes in how we communicate. But honestly, it's because of we have to work with speed and like numbers. And sometimes I'll have 7 jobs at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So uh, yeah, it's a really very strange job. I get a lot of pressure from, extras, somebody being unavailable. One thing is fittings are a huge thing. I actually will, sorry for all the producers out there, but I will actually not tell producers if an actor is unavailable for a fitting because I don't want them to lose a job because they're unavailable for a fitting. And then when it comes down to the fitting and they're like, they're not available, I'm like, I'm so sorry. And I'll eat it. And try to absorb that and try to cover for the actor or the agent because they're not the bad guy. They were just booked on that other day. So they're working 2 days. But there's so many games and things that I play to protect actors and our market. And I'm very proud of it. So hopefully that answers your question some because you guys are the reason that we can exist. I mean, this is, producers and directors. I'm the middleman for y'all. So
Yeah.
it's so much fun. It's so much fun.
And that kind of ties into, and people on the YouTube, if you do have questions, we'll go a few more minutes here for sure. But like Laura asked, what percentage of casting directors do you think have an acting background? Because I think I would venture a guess that you coming from an acting background gives you that residual love for actors and understanding and being able to walk a mile in our shoes, so that when the S hits the wall in terms of all those other 17 things that are pulling for your attention, you don't forget that. And I can vouch for that, having known you so long and being that fly on the wall during Zooms and knowing that no matter how hard that director's being and they won't turn their camera on and all that, like that you're still being that person for the actor.
But yeah, what is the percentage that you think that are casting directors that actually have an actor's background?
I think it's growing. I won't speak for other casting directors. I mean, I know I auditioned for some that definitely didn't have that empathy, but I also don't think they're required to.
Sure.
You know, back in the day, Shay Griffin cast everything,
Mm-hmm.
and she was an amazing casting director. And you would come in and when you left, you didn't know how you did.
It's very
But
true.
that's not the job.
Sure.
The job is to come in there and leave and go, I did what I wanted to. The questions you should ask is, did you do what you wanted to do? And then were you an open book and absorbed what they wanted you to do and you went for it?
Mm-hmm.
And if that happened, then that out of body experience that happened to you is correct, right?
Yeah.
You did your job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think, you know, in 20 plus years, I've experienced cast directors on the full spectrum of either being so personable, like those times with you and Melissa, you know, all those in-person times almost 20 years ago. My goodness. And on the flip side, other casting directors who, like you said with Shay, you kind of left, she wasn't going to hug you, right? She wasn't going to, you know, baby you through it. She was going to expect, I mean, I remember my first audition for her, I had like 3 pages, you know, and I had been taught, you know, always carry the script in because it's not a finished performance. First thing she says is, you don't need the script, do you? And then suddenly, like, you're putting down the script
Right.
because she had that standard of you're prepared, right?
Yeah.
Please don't come in as an unprepared actor. And, you know, there's a lot of discussion there, right? That actors will have feelings about. But then like Megan Lewis, she did a Q&A once, and I think her perspective, I don't want to speak for her. She's from down in the New Orleans market, but is that, well, if you get on set and there's, you know, 35 people staring at you, like that's not a warm, inviting environment.
And we switch your lines and in here.
Yeah. And you have an ornery lead actor who doesn't even shake your hand or
Yeah.
look you in the eye. It's like if you can't perform under that pressure where it's not an ideal circumstance, you know, there's all those theories on it, on like what a casting director should be, you know, in terms of what, at least what actors think casting directors should be.
But yeah, but think about it, if a casting director can make you shake in your boots for a second, then you're probably not ready for all the cameras
That
to
is
flip
fair.
on you.
Exactly.
So if I really wanted to save my time, we could deliver that and then I could be quick with people.
Mm.
But it's, to me, you know, Shay built in the 90s, built up a whole generation of actors,
Yeah.
including myself, giving
Sure.
us opportunities and training us before we went to LA. And really that was what we did here with all those movies in the 90s. They were smaller, but she was our core casting director at that time.
Yeah.
And so now I mean, I consider it an honor what I've learned for her to pay forward. Like, this is all about paying forward generations, you know, and making Atlanta strong. And while the industry is down right now, it will come back.
Sure.
We have built the best infrastructure in the world to do this. So it will come back. So never have idle mind. If you're an actor, you need to be working out. You need to be doing a script every day to the point where you're so good at your craft, you believe yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You actually believe yourself, and you can like lie to say, run your script to somebody in a bus, and you're like, you know, the other day I was mowing my yard and the battery went out, whatever. I'm terrible, but you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
if you can get to where you could say it, your script in public to someone, and they're like, it happened to me too. You're like, and then people will think you're crazy, or then yeah, that's fine. I've never done that.
Yeah. And Linda asked a question, but Mike, you kind of answered it for
You're
her.
not tripping.
Yeah, you're not tripping, or you should stop
You should
tripping.
stop tripping.
I mean,
Oh, just that, like, if you're being called in multiple times by a casting director, that's a good sign. That it means that they're looking for a place. Because there's this weird thing that actors do. I don't know if you ever did this, sort of, especially in those LA days, maybe when it was work, is that actors will get angry when it's the 6th time, when it's the 7th time. And I've been there. So it's like, this is not a judgment on actors. I've had to come to terms and stop tripping, to use Linda's words, because it's like that. Then you hear a cast director say what Brian's saying, and there's some other vocal cast directors on social media like Erica Bream who get on her stories every day and are trying to talk actors back from the ledge of like, listen, y'all. And she'll tell stories about like, oh my gosh, we read this actor so many times. We finally got to book him, and it was the greatest day, you know. And you hear a cast director tell that story of like, oh yeah, I've been that actor who's had the 7, 10, 26, 42 auditions for the show and been mad on that second to last one. And if you're not careful on the 42nd, you're like, finally. Like, it's not even a joy anymore.
Right?
Like,
No,
it's
that's
like,
true.
Oh,
I mean,
no, it can't be.
I've done that to myself where if I'm not careful, right, it becomes like finally, as opposed to it finally lined up,
Yeah.
right? Like it's a joyous thing, not a
Yeah, I mean, there's so many actors who I've picked, I'm sure 50 or more times who have not booked with me yet. But honestly, I believe, and I can see their growth from
yeah.
1 to 50. And I honestly hope that they know that those auditions are building them for their movie auditions, that taking the direction, all those things, this all builds. So it's not the actual booking, it's that wealth of material that goes back to my original thought of, can you make the effort and work disappear and make this about being in a playground because you're comfortable with the unknown and vulnerable and you enjoy this.
Mhm.
You have nothing left to prove. So it's not a job interview.
I was gonna get that tattooed on my body somewhere.
You have
I got
nothing left to
I
prove.
got nothing to prove, right? Like, because seriously, when it comes down to it,
Uh-huh.
there's nothing to like.
Seems like a good Clint Eastwood line. I got nothing
Nothing to
left
prove.
Get off my lawn.
But now I have to figure out where I want to put this tattoo. But
Uh-huh.
I think
News at 11.
I'm pretty much going to just assume that when you see someone play, you can sit back and enjoy.
Oh, I am disarmed because if it's in a callback, I already know the director. I'll watch directors. I will listen to you, but I'll watch the director if their screen is on, right? And I'm like, I'll watch the director because this person's really good. And the director, and they're like, oh, I like that. You're like stealing ideas. But the last thing, sometimes people are so good, the director's like, I don't, do it again. And they weren't not paying attention. You actually gave them no words left to say because you were so good.
That's fun.
Yeah, it's when somebody goes right off the first second or two.
Yeah. It's fun.
This might be a Pandora's box, but I think it's good for actors to hear maybe your perspective on it, which is because this is one of the ledges I have to talk an actor back off of. Yeah, there it is. After one of those Zooms, is if they did 1 take versus 2 takes versus 7 takes with the director, that there is no, I mean, if I'm watching, I can give them the perspective on it. Like, oh, no, they were loving you. They were playing, like that was not them correcting you. It was them playing because they were excited that someone was willing to play. Sometimes it's correction, right? Sometimes it's like you are the right look. I need to see if you can take the direction and you're not quite there yet. So maybe just speak to that, right? That either there is no discernment that you can really make about how many takes is perfect.
It's a really good question because I honestly think the more takes a director does, the more they are less sure about what they want, and it doesn't have to do with you.
Yeah.
Oh.
I'm not kidding because I now absorb your question. I'm like, first of all, in Zooms now and stuff, directors know that we have a time limit and they're only going to give 2 or 3 redirects or 4, or like, hey, what if we try this? So once you get into that 4th or 5th one, they're actually playing things differently, or even more so, the agency is poking the director going, hey, why don't you try this like this and see if it's a little different? So other things can come in as well. And then there's some directors that are like, do it again. Cool. And then you leave and they're like, that was perfect.
Mhm.
And so they know they don't have to do anything. And that honestly is all of us, our job in the end is to try to do as little as possible,
Right.
or nothing. So, but that's honestly what you have achieved. So there is no correlation in number of takes in an actor. In fact, if anything, is that if the other way around and an actor should find it curious that his director is on take 9. Now, if a director gets to take 17, you can bet that I'm over there in the corner going,
Yeah, we got.
Twitching.
Yeah.
right in the Zoom again. 4 more minutes, Tony.
Yeah,
I know I said
up
4
it.
minutes before.
Okay.
Then Tommy, then Mike, then Joan, then Brett, then Frank.
By the way,
I'm behind.
On behalf of all actors, like I'll be in that waiting room and I'm like, Brian's really good about keeping you updated because some offices are really good about that. Some either haven't discovered the chat with the waiting room. And so you're just like, and then the
Right.
actor is just like, when's it going to happen? And then right when they're not prepared is exactly when they get pulled in. So not like, it's so nice knowing that you're on deck and things like that.
I'm pretty obsessive compulsive, but I
Yeah,
also
I
can
love that.
feel an actor. If I do punch in and I'm 17 minutes late and haven't said anything, they're like, it's hard to hold for like, because you were trying, and then again, you're like, I'm ready for this work.
Yeah.
So it's me disarming the waiting room,
Yeah.
or at least letting you know I'm 23 minutes behind.
Yeah.
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 You'd also just kind of unveiled something that I don't think any of us think about, that the client is also chiming in via a back door in the, Zoom room
Oh yeah.
that we can't even see or experience. Like back in the day when it was in person, we could at least see
Yeah.
people, talking
That
in the
one
back.
person looks up at
Right.
their laptop
Oh.
finally and is like,
Yeah, and you
Oh.
can kind of get that, but I'm sure that even then they were doing AOL.
They were
Like,
not
they were
present most of
aiming,
the time.
aiming people.
Yeah.
Most of the time there's one that usually has to say one thing and you're like, no, 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 no. And then they're like, and then the drug, we got to keep going. We had it, so I'm always aware of that one that's real quiet.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But yeah, but they can be poking and then it's also funny sometimes when they forget that they shouldn't write things in the Zoom chat. They're
Ooh.
like, could they do it a little less dorky next time? And I'm like, I'm pretty sure they got that direction and action. Because yeah, I'm like, hey, you probably want to not put that in the
Yeah.
chat.
Let's
But
do that to
at this
private.
point, directors are,
I
can I
agree.
hide my camera? I'm gonna be in
Yeah.
camera. I'm like, yeah, man, we're used to it. But yes, and I'll say that, sure, I got it, because then I'm pop in. Hey,
Yeah.
welcome to your
Which we
audition.
appreciate. Thank you.
Cool. And then the very first person I called back the other day, I did the first take, and the director started talking. The guy goes, I can't see you. And I was like, oh, I went, hey, man, we are 5 years past the time when you should be able to not ask that question. You don't need to see him today. And I made a whole thing out, and everybody laughed real hard, and the actor laughed. But I made a big, like, I don't need to see him either. Like, I
Yeah.
don't even know where he is. He could be at Six Flags right now. And it went on, and everybody's like, this guy's crazy. But by the end of the Zoom, they realize you're on my game show.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. Let's see. Now that you have a team, are you, because I think this is an interesting question. What percentage of self-tapes are seen by associates and assistants, but not the cast director? Like, is there going to be a filtering process, or is it that you still watch every tape that you've solicited? Does that make sense?
I definitely can't watch all the tapes.
Sure.
I have so many projects right now. I'm really thankful, but the actors that are working with me now, the reason that I hired them is because they operate, they're off kindness. They're incredible actors. They're focused. They want to learn. And when I put them behind the camera, they've also read my direction enough times where they know what I want.
Mhm.
So it's really nice. I consider them an extension of me, and they're learning and getting better every day. And they're really making me better as well, because this is a very, very hard task when all of a sudden I have 4 jobs and I have 1,400, 1,500 tapes to watch in 2 or 3 days. And I'll do it because I've got to honor that whole thing. But now I have a team that really helps me. And that is, for me, to give away some of that control is very, very big.
That's
I mean,
huge.
and for me to even say it, I want to go, no, I watched them all. But that's not the truth. The truth is they do it. We sit and we watch them together so they understand. I'll ask them questions while they're watching the tapes. I'll see if they see what I just saw with tells, and ask them, or watch 2 takes and see if the improv changes. Because you guys know, if you have 2 takes and you're doing improv, you should change your improv on the second take. I always call that diminishing your own improv. If you got a chance to play your own little line, then play it a little differently the second time.
Yeah.
Because that's your mind. That's when we see your mind. So there's these little things that I'm really letting them do as well. I try to still watch as many tapes as I can.
Yeah.
I love watching tapes. It's how I get to know y'all. But now we're a body of work. And honestly, I'm expanding across the country. I've been casting all over the country for the last 5 years. But I'll go ahead and announce this on the show.
Yeah.
I haven't really told many people yet. But in January, I'll be opening an office in LA.
Oh, nice.
Congratulations.
So really, really excited. I've got a team out there as well.
Wow.
And a studio and Casting Networks has been a big supporter of it.
Nice.
And so, yeah, I'm really excited to go out there too, because a lot of the clients, they're in LA.
Yeah.
And if I'm in LA, they'll use us there too.
Yeah.
And when it happens, you know that I'm going to pitch Atlanta actors to travel to LA instead of just LA actors coming to Atlanta. So we're going to flip it. All right.
Nice.
So I'm going to show them new faces in LA, and
That's
I'm excited
great.
to do that.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
there's the announcement. That was the official
Absolutely,
announcement.
that is announcement.
That's cute.
We
There's
just-
the camera.
I'm
we
pretty
did that
excited.
first. I'm excited for you, man.
We'll try to get through these last couple questions. Let's see. When you choose actors for a commercial, does it then get sent to the producer and director for the commercial for approval before they make their final decision? I'm not sure, Sadie, if that is a after the audition after the callback, or if at the submission phase? Like, who has to approve the submission?
Yeah, well, I watch. The submissions coming in to me,
Mhm.
so agents will submit 1 million people. I'll pick as many faces as I think have a chance. I actually err on the side if I don't know now, I get to pick you. Back in the day, there was a spot where I had to fill that hole, so I had to make sure it was worth it. Now I can really pick as many people as I want. Then I write all the direction, send out all my send the direction out on my choices. You guys submit all your tapes. I watch those tapes. We watch those tapes, whittle them down. I send those initial big batch. It's a big batch. I mean, if for one role, I'll send 80 or so people.
Oh, wow.
Right? Depends. I mean, if it's like
Sure.
a killer clown character and I need it's 23 people is fine if he's quite a character, right?
Yeah.
Yes, Matt. I'm sorry you didn't get to read for that.
Dang it.
Okay. But but yeah, so then they will watch hundreds of tapes. Like if it's 5 roles and I send 80 per talent, then they have a journey as well.
Yeah.
So that's why when I talk about timing on tapes or keep these under 15 seconds, or there's a reason because directors making a director wait, even in like when the director calls action and you're like, okay, hold on. That already shows that you need to be
You don't
please be
understand
ready
yet.
before they call action.
Yeah.
You're not waiting. There's a good, I know I just jumped completely.
No, that's
No, that's
okay.
fine.
But like
That's
it's so
great
funny
nugget.
sometimes, and I'm like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, director Mississippi, and they're also doing that. They're like losing light in their mind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. Where was I?
Exactly. You were talking about how the 80, you might send 80 or so.
Yeah. And so
to
then
the
they make their
producers.
callbacks.
Mhm.
They'll call back, I would say 15% is a good number.
Mhm.
And then, I mean, sometimes they call back more. Like the other day, I had 90 people on a Zoom call back, but there were 11 roles.
Oh,
So again, it started at 9:30 in the morning and finished at 6:35,
Wow.
whatever at night. So
Yeah.
it's a mind erasing day.
Yeah.
sure.
But that's the process. And then they a lot of times they send it off to their clients. So it's like if Nike is not there watching, the ad agency production company will make their selects with the director and then send it off to their client to be approved. But I would say almost 95% of the time, the person that makes the decision is the director.
That's nice.
Because everybody else has given this creative, the producers and executive producers, ad agency, they've all given this creative freedom to the director to go, this is who I like, and this is what I see, and this is my
That's
ensemble.
why they're hired.
And when they do that, they'll go, great, or we agree with you. Most of the time, because they allow the director to play this vision out. They directed the actors, they've already shown that they can do it and make it come to life, which is why I love being a part of that process, because in the beginning, if we do the commercials right, by the time the callback is there, the director has to do very little.
Mhm.
I will run the talent through once, and I'm like, if you want me to do it again, I'll direct them some and run it through again. A lot of the directors that know me, they'll barely talk in callbacks because I will read their mind
Mhm.
because I know the tone of what it is they're trying to achieve.
Mhm.
I'm not bragging about that. I'm saying directors make decisions, and that's why even in my class, I'm excited about because I will try to teach and show people how these decisions are made behind the scenes, behind the camera, rather
Yeah.
than going, why didn't
What did I do?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
want to show people what I see.
That's
Do
amazing.
you meet with the directors prior to the job?
They write treatments, so they'll write like 70-page treatments about the job. And yeah, for commercials, they write huge treatments because they have to win the jobs.
Sure.
That's how they do it, is they write these big treatments, and then I'll get together and review their treatments. But I will hijack those conversations very quickly because if we're not careful, those conversations can go on forever about every
Sure.
role. But if I start talking and understand their vision and the tone of the project and what we're trying to see and how the characters, and I identify them in this one time, it reminded me of this when I was a kid, and do this stuff, I'll talk for about 3 minutes. And by the time we're done, the director's like, we're good.
Yeah.
Are you good? Because I don't have anything else. And it makes those phone calls really short because time is for everybody. Time is valuable.
Yeah.
And we have to move really, really fast. I think that's why some casting directors lack empathy, but it's not because we don't love actors and need you. It's because we are under huge pressure all the time.
Yeah. Which
and
is
it's
why
very weird.
we're
I used to
so
get really stressed.
thankful that you even took time out tonight to even do this. Like
Yeah.
seriously, that's huge.
Yeah.
Because you even came in here and you're like,
I gotta book 125.
I know I was dealing with extras because they're paying $125 for 10 hours, and I begged them not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I even said, I will just give away my fee if you just pay them more. And they're like, you cannot pay an agency fee. And I'm like, there's no agency fee either. Why are you doing this?
I-
But I put it out on casting networks.
Yeah.
And there are talent that want to get
Sure.
set experience.
Of course.
Learn set etiquette.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
they're familiar faces, and I'm surprised. They're very strong actors, but it is worth it to go there and be on set.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you go be on set for $125. That's what I want. Like, no, it's not.
No.
But what it is if you're sitting there idly or you have a day, at least you get to be on set and play.
Yeah.
And learn so
It's
much
fine.
by being in a low pressure
No,
and,
it's true.
like,
Yeah.
you know, have a role that doesn't require a lot.
Yep.
I see so many familiar names and
Yeah.
I love it,
Boom,
guys.
boom,
I miss
congrats,
all
guys.
you guys a lot. So
And
Well, thanks, Elizabeth.
yeah, and I want to vouch for something, which is I think we had you in 5 or 6 episodes over our first 3 seasons, and it spread out, right? And
Right.
every single time between takes, you were doing casting stuff. Like,
oh my God.
you either
Yeah.
had your laptop, or you were dealing with, you know, extras, or you were dealing with, oh my God, somebody just called me, whatever. Like, there was always something, and it's just fascinating to see that it is a nonstop 24-hour. I mean, I think that's something that when you learn that an agent, you know, has to essentially be available 24 hours a day, and some try to, you know, rightly so, put boundaries on that. But then it's, if I have a 4 a.m. call time, right, I need to be able to call somebody, you know, and so it becomes that thankless, endless job, you know, which doesn't have a clock out. Because like I said, even when we're inviting you to come play, it's like, yeah, but I also have to, let this person hold
Yeah.
on.
I accept it. And now I'm really excited because I mean, I do music videos.
Mhm.
You know, I cast Saffron Kingdom as well,
Nice.
which is now making the festival circuit, and it's doing really well. It's
Yeah.
won some festivals, and that's about the Kashmir region of India.
Yeah,
which is
remember
under
when you were
great
casting that.
duress.
Yeah.
But that was a really, I mean, to cast that out of Atlanta shows how diverse the city has become,
Mhm.
because we couldn't even use talent from Kashmir or India for the project because it was too dangerous for them.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we had to find talent. There were all different ethnicities to play, and they actually learned Kashmiri, and then we barely even had it in subtitles because they did it so well.
Wow.
But that whole thing, again, I had to find 40 some odd talent, and I only had 3 weeks for the first shoot date. So it was actually crazy. But I love film and TV as well, and you know, all kinds of stuff. And there's a lot of different things coming. So I'm really, really excited.
That's awesome.
And I'm teaching again too.
Yes. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So that's something where, even though your upcoming class, this fun challenge is full. Yeah, the tournament. I just love that.
I think it's repeatable and affordable though.
Oh yeah.
So we'll see how this first one
Yeah.
goes. Everybody's gonna be on my callback game show. It's gonna be pretty fun. If you guys want to come, you can.
Hey, who
All right.
signed up?
If you want us to come as Becky and Barry and give really bad performances,
It's in your
to
wheelhouse.
learn for them. Yeah, we're
Right.
really good at being bad.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm really glad to be here. So thank you
Yeah.
guys as
Thank
well.
you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, Parker.
Yeah, Parker.
In our peanut gallery.
Shout out to the
But yeah, so be sure we'll after the fact we'll like put your website into the chat, into the thing. And but yeah, it's one of those things where actors will ask us sometimes about classes, and I know that here, if you're here in Atlanta, Brian is someone who is not only going to give you value, partly because of his experience as a cast director, but also because of your background as an actor. Again, understanding the sort of the two sides of that. But we just know your heart and your wisdom, that any class that you're offering is always something that is I think you're like us, where you over deliver in terms of like you set a price for the class, but then you're gonna get more than that value. I mean, just what you're talking about with this tournament, I just know with every fiber of my being how valuable it is going to be to see casting from that side. So.
And just so you know, we had an anonymous donor who has purchased a ticket for a lucky winner, so to speak.
For the tournament.
And I'm trying to figure out how to do this. And I think what there's no way to like check who likes
No, you won't let us look at.
But I do ask maybe that everyone just do a little thumbs up.
Yeah.
Just
Do a
because
little
it'd be
pander,
fun.
a little pander.
But we really appreciate that. But also, we'll put out some information about how to snag that spot. If it's something that you need or want, you can leave a comment here, and we'll put you in the mix.
Yeah, and if you're here live, that means you know us and you know how to contact us. So
Yeah.
you
I don't know why I was just looking at that.
I don't
That was
know,
weird.
we
That
have
was
to
weird.
fix
It's so weird. It's so weird. Cool.
So, thank you, everybody.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you, Brian.
thank you.
I appreciate it.
Awkward.